start with a story that is quite interesting for a lot of people, Bart. This one came up. A player that we've looked at before, Rayan AtNouri, the Wolves left back, having an interesting season. That 50 million rated, this article came out yesterday. And as it says, Liverpool have watched him frequently, but Kerkez is the number one target in that position. I don't think anyone will be surprised with that at all, Bart, with the Kerkez links. But seems AtNouri still there. Now, the second thing to say is, AtNouri, when you look at his stats, 5 goals, 7 assists in all competitions in a struggling Wolves team as well. But a Wolves team, Bart, so it's interesting because when we looked at him, they were right in the depths of their struggle. I think they were rock bottom when we first profiled him, and we talked about the worries around his defensive element. But Wolves have improved under Pereira. AtNouri's been shouted out. So it is intriguing at this stage as we start to look into it. And I'll bring up your screen here for this one as well. AtNouri, does he trump Kerkez now at all for you?
I think it's interesting because I think you and I actually said that we thought Wolves were in a false position. They had better players than their current position was showing you, right? And actually, that's proven true because the new manager's come in, and I think they're like top 4 for form since the new manager's come in. I think something like that. Anyway, they're right up the form table. So it doesn't surprise me that this lad's now getting looked at and the rest of it. I mean, in terms of, I think at the time we were looking at it, I think he's done. Yeah, he's consistently played a lot of minutes. Like got here, he's 2-8 this season, and remember they're not in Europe, so. To get nearly 3,000 minutes from effectively one competition with a few little cup games is pretty decent, to be fair. As you've pointed out, his goals and assists are pretty good. There we go. So he's actually adding XG to the team when he's playing. So that's 1.4 he's adding. It's a good kind of thing in terms of where we are in terms of non-opponent goals and expected assists at 0.23, which is for a fullback, not too bad. It's pretty good. It's we were looking a bit more about what that actually looks in terms of what does he actually do, but he does progress it quite well. I think from memory serves me right. If we look here, his defensive side, I think we liked about him a lot was aerially. I think we've looked at a lot of fullbacks now, and none of them have amazing aerial ability, right? None of them. Clearances is probably a good thing because he's more used to doing blocks, and tackles is something I wouldn't want to see. But then interceptions would be higher, but blocks is where he's blocking a pass lane and the rest of it. So there are some elements to his defending. He's in the good space that we want. In terms of he is more of a carrier than a passer, so he progressively carries that ball. So basically, he's like Robbo rather than Costas. And his pass completion is 79th percentile, and that's 83.7% per 90, which is very good. That's nearly the top 20% of fullbacks. So volume isn't there though, so he's currently not doing a lot of volume. But again, some of that could just be the amount of ball that Wolves had, right? Although they're playing well, they're still not a top side. They still won't go into a game and dominate and want the ball a lot. So there'll be differences there. But the thing you need to point out with this lad is the attacking side of things. Yeah. So shot created action, 72 percentile. So that's 2.5 a game, right? Non-penalty goals, 88th percentile is 0.12. XG, 83rd percentile. Assists, 87th percentile. So these are all in and around the top 20% for fullbacks. And as you quite rightly said, he's playing for a lower half team, right? So and this is over the last year. So although he's had a massive regression because he wasn't that great, and Wolves have turned it around, if he maybe matched up the whole season being how they've been for the last 12 games, you would probably see a very good profile. And now just lining it up with the guy that is currently in the box seat, according to everybody, he does largely trump him. Like there are a lot of metrics where he outperforms Kerkez. Kerkez has more progressive passes and more clearances, but again, clearances isn't necessarily a good thing. That shows you he's reacting, defending rather than being proactive. But every other element, he is pretty much either level, which is progressive carries, or AtNouri is actually outperforming Kerkez. So This is an old favourite. AI listeners for many, many years. This guy always gets profiled on pods because he's relatively cheap. He's got good output, and defensively, he's actually pretty good for the way he is. So, yeah, I could totally see why we would be looking at doing it. His wages are dirt cheap as well. So, and he expires, is it next summer his contract expires? So
it's an interesting one because it officially says that when you look at various places which you can search as well, that he's a year left to go, but there's a club option for a year as well. So no one's quite sure, is that like automatically actionable? How does that work at all? There's a little bit of uncertainty there, but I think it's quite telling on that Wolves are trying to get a new contract sorted for this lad as well. Probably tells where they sit, like, let's get this if we are going to do it, i.e. asset protection, it feels, doesn't it?
Yeah, definitely. Because I don't think you'd want to be losing. I mean, he's 23 as well. This is like prime age to be signing a fullback. With that back end of the season like he's had at that age, I think you don't want to be losing him.
Yeah, I know. Excuse you, but yeah, I suppose the question I want to ask on this is, and I want to frame it in the right way for you. We've talked about it before. Kerkez is a road runner, as we've called him. Bombs up and down that wing. Great injury records and doesn't get injured up and down all day. That's about him. Aït-Nouri, a bit, not a road runner, as we'd say, covers good ground, but probably from his metrics, definitely more of a threat in the opposition box than Kerkez, or just in terms of creation at the same time as well, as we can see. Is it that element for Liverpool, you think they've got to make a decision as to what type they want? Because I know we're comparing them, but is it a type question here as well?
I think these two are more similar than some of the players we have seen when we've been profiling. They both have the strengths are going to be in the carries, right? So that carries here. He's fairly high progressive carrying distance, total carrying distance. He's in the 60th. He takes players on. He takes them. He has touches in the attacking penalty box in the 89th percentile. So yeah, they've both got strengths in terms of that. They're not there for big passes, should we say? So if you just look at where we are for position down here, so again, take-ons, progressive carries per distance is 74. So Kerkez, I would say they profile quite similarly, but I think AtNouri has slightly better metrics. And some would say one is 21 and one is 23. One's had 4 seasons in the Premier League, and one's had 1. So I think there's something in that. The physicality, though, Kerkez is anyone who's seen his physique, he's absolute. He's built he's an athlete, absolute athlete. So even if you look at top line percentiles, it really isn't. If you were looking at it that way, they're not actually that close, But their strengths are actually carries there are actually. They're very similar. I would say AtNouri takes a player on more and gets in the box, whereas Kerkez hasn't quite developed that part of his game yet. So he's not getting in the box. He's not taking players on. He's just carrying the ball. The thing with Kerkez is that, as we pointed out, his pass completion is 75%, and his volume isn't there. Whereas AtNouri's volume might not be there either, but his pass completion is 83%. So I think they profile in a very similar manner, but I think one is slightly more polished, should we say? Slightly more polished when he gets to the final third. Defensively, they both actually have similar thing, apart from Kerkez clears the ball more than AtNouri. So I think they're both, to be honest with you, they're both Robbo. They're Robbo's profile. Robbo carries the ball. That's his strength. So therefore, they both do that. The issue is going to be Bradley also carries the ball. So that balance, you're either going to have fullbacks to do exactly the same thing. Okay, cool. Then you've got to strengthen the middle, or you need to get another right back who isn't a carrier, is more of a passer. So that's just the only observation I would make, is that if you're going to sign another Robbo, that's fine, but your other fullback is also a carrier and not a passer.
A tough decision to make then. Interesting. It does have the feeling that maybe, I don't know, AtNouri's being mentioned. It's clear Liverpool have looked at him, but maybe both are being used to drive the price down for each, if that makes sense. A typical Liverpool tactic. Of course it would be, because if you can, make the selling club aware that there is another option, you can always maybe change it into something else. So we'll see what develops for them too.